As I promised, part 2 is here. Sorry for splitting this story, my ex is driving me crazy. So, let's start. Laura, there's something I need to tell you. There's someone else, and I feel so bad that my cock just can't perform. Shocked, she looked up at me and asked, "What do you mean, there's someone else?" I'm so sorry. It's only been a couple of times, but the sex is so great I just can't get it out of my head. Her Latin temper flared, as I predicted. You fucking bastard. You fuck someone else and you can't stop thinking of the sex. Baby, it was only sex. I still love you, I said, careful not to say it was me having the affair. I can't believe this. What do you mean you can't stop thinking about it? Well, to be honest, the orgasms were the best ever, and I can't get the thought of all those amazing orgasms out of my head, which is why I can't get hard. I phrased the words carefully, not implicating myself, but just repeating her own words from the recording. She was crying, obviously hurt by the thought of the betrayal. Was I being cruel and mean? Maybe, but in reality, I was the victim, not her. I let her continue. In an angry voice she yelled, "Well, fuck you. You can just pack your shit and get out. I'm not going to stay married to a cheater. You know my dad cheated on my mom, leaving her a broken woman. I will not let you do that to me. Now get out. I'm going to divorce your ass and make you pay for this. I've been a perfect wife. I gave you 2 wonderful children, ran the household, made you dinner, and treated you with love, and this is how you repay me." I almost laughed at her demeanor and comments. She's not going to enjoy this in a few minutes, that's for sure. Laura, it was just sex and it was only those 2 times. Come on, it was just a one-time thing. Are you sure that you want a divorce over this? Listen to me. Only sex. Are you kidding? I don't believe you, and how do I know if there aren't others? I can't trust you, and yes, I want a divorce, and you're going to pay dearly for this. You know our state just passed a new law favoring the injured party from adultery, don't you? I'm going to divorce you under that statute and take you for everything you're worth. Hell, I'll even get your business and keep you on as one of the pool boys, you bastard. Wow, I didn't expect you to be so heartless and cruel. Like I said, there was no love, it was just sex and only those 2 times. Is this really what you want? Are you sure there's no forgiveness possible? Maybe we can go to counseling. I tried to save the marriage, but she was in fact making the decision to end it, and she didn't even know it. No. We're done. I won't stay married to a cheater. Just pack some of your clothes and get out. Stay with Roger or get a hotel room, but I don't want to see you again. You'll hear from my attorney. I couldn't help myself as I smiled. She had no idea that she had just led herself to her own execution. With venom in her voice, she yelled, "Why do you have that smirk on your face, asshole?" Well, sweetheart, you just made my decision a lot easier. What do you mean, your decision? She asked. Let me show you something. Get dressed and come with me. She was still pissed and seething, but she followed me down to my workshop. I had her stand next to the same window where I made the recording. I told her to stay there and not move until I returned. I went outside and synced the Bluetooth speaker with my iPhone, then returned to the workshop. She was still angry, but now looked confused as I stood next to her and then hit play on the phone. My cheating wife was even more confused when she heard herself speaking, but continued to listen, and then the expression on her face changed to one of shock. When she heard the entire conversation, she broke down in tears and fell to her knees. The realization of what had just happened hit her hard. "Baby, I'm so sorry. How did you hear that?" she said as she continued to cry. "Well, I'm not sure why that matters, but I had to come back for some things I forgot to pack. I didn't want to disturb you girls, so I came down the back door to avoid your little party. That's when I heard you talking about me in bed. I recorded it because I was going to share it with you and tease you when I got back. But when you confessed to your affair with Stan, I stayed and recorded everything. Sweetheart, you heard me say it was just a one-off and only sex. You must know there's nothing between us. You have to forgive me, I'm so sorry, you weren't supposed to find out." Amid our tears and heartache, Laura's remorseful words pierced through the pain. Her voice trembled with genuine sorrow and regret as she sought my forgiveness, her vulnerability laid bare. Her plea for understanding washed over me, and I realized that beneath the layers of hurt and anger, there was still a deep love. That I was not swayed by her crying or begging. My voice was cold and distant as I confronted Laura with the painful truth. The hurt ran deep, and I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that had consumed me. The words she had spoken about dreaming of Stan during our intimate moments had shattered the last remaining fragments of trust between us. I heard everything, Laura, I replied, my voice devoid of any warmth. You're right. You left out the part where you confessed to dreaming of him while you and I made love. How can you expect me to just brush that aside? For the first time in our marriage, her tears seemed not to affect me, as the pain of her words lingered heavily in my heart. The image of her dreaming of another man, while I poured my love and soul into our moments together, was too much to bear. I can't ignore that, Laura, I continued, my voice filled with bitterness. I also can't ignore the fact that you were never going to tell me and keep me clueless as you and all your friends would look at me knowing I was your cuck. You shattered something inside me, and I don't know if I can ever trust you again. How can I believe that you truly love me when you're dreaming of someone else? My anger swelled, and I couldn't help but feel that I deserved better than this. The thought of being with someone who couldn't fully commit to me was the final blow. I can't just pretend that everything's okay, I said, my voice firm. Dreaming of another man while we're together is a deal breaker for me. I don't know how to love you again when I know that you're thinking of him, not me during our most intimate moments. The pain in my heart was overwhelming, and the thought of rebuilding our relationship seemed impossible. I couldn't find it within myself to forgive her, not when she had betrayed me in such a profound way. The room fell silent as the weight of my words hung heavily in the air. There was nothing left to say, the truth had been spoken, and the hurt was too deep to mend. It was clear that the damage done was irreparable, and the road to forgiveness was one I couldn't fathom traveling. At that moment, I knew that our love had been forever shattered, and the future we had envisioned together was now nothing more than a distant dream. It was a painful realization, but it was one I had to face if I wanted to find a way to heal and move forward, even if it meant doing so without her by my side. No. I didn't mean that, you don't understand. I love you and I don't want him. Bob, you have to give me a chance to explain. Don't lie to me, bitch. I heard what you said on that recording, and the thought of him in our bed is too much for me to handle. I never would have thought you would betray my love and cause me so much pain. If I'm wrong, then look me in the eyes and tell me it's not true. Look at me and tell me you weren't thinking of his big dick and your great orgasms with him while we made love. Yeah, that's right, you can't even look at me. Damn it, you fucked everything up, Laura. I hope you enjoyed his big dick because you'll never have mine again. You can go live with him after I divorce your ass, and then you won't have to dream about him anymore. Openly sobbing and barely audible she said, you can't divorce me, I love you. Please give me a chance to make this right. That's rich. Now you want my forgiveness. Imagine my shock. The cheating slut wants a hall pass, a one-time fuck. I'll make it up to you. I love you. I'm sorry. Where do you get the idea that I would want you after what you did? Do I look like the kind of man that would accept betrayal from a cheating wife? My voice trembled with a mix of emotions as I poured my heart out to Laura. For the last 3 days, I've been torn. Part of me wanted to find a way to forgive you and work things out. I thought maybe I could move past the one-time mistake, but then everything changed when I heard what you said to our friends. The hurt in my heart was palpable, and I couldn't hide the pain in my voice. The fact that she had proudly shared intimate details about her thoughts during our lovemaking had shattered the last remnants of trust I had for her. I'd never openly cried in all our years together, but when I couldn't hold back my pain any longer, I felt humiliated. Laura, I continued, with tears falling and my voice quivering. Those women, our friends, now see me as the clueless husband. I think I even heard Mary call me a cuckold. You have no idea how humiliation that was. It's like I've been living in a lie, oblivious to what was going on behind my back. Knowing they're laughing at me and calling me clueless destroyed any self-worth I had left. And because of that, they are no longer part of my life. You've succeeded in ending our friendships on top of our marriage. She was noticeably shaken when she saw my tears, and knew she had hurt me beyond her comprehension. I believe that in her heart, she never wanted to hurt me, but my tears made her realize what her selfish act had caused. She then felt a crushing level of regret and sadness, as she openly cried and tried to hold me. I pushed her away and took a deep breath, trying to compose myself. I know I may have been a clueless husband in the past, but things have changed now. I can't ignore what I know, and I won't be a cuck, as your friends now refer to me. I will not allow myself to be treated like that by anyone again. As I spoke, the pain of the betrayal echoed in my voice. I had desperately wanted to save our marriage, to find a way back to the love we once shared. But the reality of the situation was sinking in, and I couldn't see a clear path forward. You know, on our way back from the fishing trip, I thought about how to salvage our marriage, I admitted, my voice breaking. But the truth is, I couldn't find a way to do it. So, I've decided to let you make the decision. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, and I don't want to live a life filled with doubt and pain. As I finished speaking, there was a long pause, the silence heavy with the weight of our emotions. The future was uncertain, and I didn't know what lay ahead for us. But one thing was clear: I couldn't bear to live in a marriage filled with betrayal and doubt. What do you mean, you would let me make the decision? Well, since I couldn't decide what to do about us, I had a plan. I would tell you a story about an affair, and however you responded and acted was how I was going to move forward. The beauty of my plan was that you alone were going to decide the fate of our marriage. In the story I just told 20 minutes ago, I never said I had an affair, only that there was an affair. I repeated what you said about how they were in bed with us, you know, how you dream of him. Well, I give you all my love. Well, 20 minutes ago I told you about the affair being a one-off mistake, and it was only sex, not love. I asked you if there was any way we could get past it. I even offered to go to counseling. Do you remember what you told me? You told me to get out of our house. You told me that you were going to destroy me in a divorce. You told me you were going to take my business and turn me into a pool boy. You showed no mercy. Well, that's exactly what you can expect from me now. I won't kick you out like you did to me, but you will move into the guest room as I don't want you in my bed. I'll be meeting with the attorney and filing under adultery. I can't wait to use that new divorce law you told me about with all of your vitriol. Bob, I didn't mean any of that, you have to believe me. Don't do this. What about all our 20 years and the kids? The raw emotion in my voice was evident as I confronted Laura, my heart breaking with each word. The pain of betrayal was too great to bear, and I couldn't help but feel the weight of her actions on our entire family. I know this is going to be hard, I said, my voice trembling with hurt and anger. But I can't ignore what you did, Laura. You didn't think about the kids or our years together when you decided to betray me and our family. The sense of her betrayal cut deep, and the pain in my heart was overwhelming. The trust that had once bound us together had been broken, and I couldn't fathom how to move past it. What you did is unforgivable, I continued, my voice firmly. And you will have to face the consequences, just like you were so ready to give me punishment for my mistakes. Now, move your things out of my bedroom. My voice was heavy with sorrow as I led her away, physically separating her from the space we once shared. The room that had been a sanctuary for our love was now tainted by the betrayal that had unfolded. That night, sleep eluded me as I mourned the death of my marriage. I had loved her with all my heart, and the realization that she had been dreaming of another man during our most intimate moments continued to overwhelm me, like a dark cloud. I know some men could forgive their wives for such transgressions, but I couldn't find it within myself to do so. The pain was too great, and the trust that had been broken felt irreparable. Despite my love for her, I couldn't find a way to get past what she had said. The dream of a future together felt forever broken, and the loss was immeasurable. All I could do was honor my feelings and emotions, even if it meant letting go of the woman I once loved so deeply. Before leaving, I looked down at the woman I loved for over the last 2 decades and said, "You've broken my heart. Today I lost someone who didn't care about me, but today you lost someone who would have done anything for you." The sounds of begging for forgiveness followed me until I walked away from Laura for the last time. Bob made the heartbreaking call to his children, dreading the moment he had to share the devastating news. His son, Michael, offered his understanding and unwavering support, a glimmer of solace amid the chaos. However, Katie's reaction shattered his hopes. The anger she displayed, a reflection of her close bond with her mother, pierced his heart. Bob tried his best to make her understand, but the chasm between them seemed insurmountable. In a rare display of strength, Laura took it upon herself to speak to Katie, acknowledging her grave mistake and urging her not to harbor too much anger towards her father, who had done nothing wrong. The kids' lives were forever altered by the fallout, but Bob was determined to ensure their future was secure, promising to fund their college education and take care of them. The confrontation between the guys and their wives was laden with betrayal and heartache. Mary's heart shattered upon learning about Laura's divorce, feeling the weight of their long friendship crumbling. Roger was seething with rage, unable to comprehend why his wife had kept the affair a secret, and even worse, why she had seemingly encouraged it. The revelation on the recording was a soul-crushing blow, leaving him questioning everything. The hurt was too profound to ignore, and the bond they once shared seemed irreparably broken. The days that followed were filled with raw emotions and heartache, as the consequences of their actions unraveled before them. The once tight-knit group of friends now found themselves facing the harsh reality of betrayal and shattered trust. Mary, devastated by the news of Laura's divorce, was confronted by Roger, her husband, about her role in keeping the affair a secret. Her heart sank as she realized the gravity of her actions. Roger's anger was palpable, and he demanded answers as to why she had protected Laura and betrayed their best friend. The weight of her guilt and the realization of her complicity left her speechless and remorseful. At Scott's house, a similar scene unfolded when Emily heard the hurtful words she had spoken about her husband on the recording. The humiliation and shame were too much for Scott to bear, and he made the painful decision to leave, leaving Emily in tears and regret. Meanwhile, at Bob and Laura's home, the tension was thick as Bob handed Laura the divorce papers. Laura pleaded with him to forgive her, realizing the magnitude of her mistake and the pain she had caused. Her pleas fell on deaf ears, as Bob's heart was too wounded to consider reconciliation. The hurt was deep, and he knew he could never trust her again. Judge Montresor presided over our case, and the divorce proceedings became a painful ordeal, with Laura desperately trying to salvage the marriage. The court battle brought forth Stan's testimony, filled with regret for the destruction he had caused. Stan was told to either testify truthfully or feel the wrath of the anger from the husbands. Regretfully and with heavy guilt, his testimony sounded more like an admission of guilt, and offered an apology to the injured parties. Tears filled the courtroom as the final blow to the marriage was delivered. Laura's heart sank further as she relived the affair through the playback of the recording. The judge's ruling was swift, granting Bob a significant portion of their assets, and denying any spousal support under the new state statute put into place. Laura was left with the painful realization of how her actions had led to the demise of her marriage. The excitement and passion she had experienced with Stan now seemed like a distant memory, overshadowed by the regret and pain she had inflicted on Bob. The once bright future they had envisioned together had crumbled, leaving Laura with the weight and the consequences of her affair. As she faced the bleak reality of her situation, she knew that she had lost not only her marriage, but also her sense of security and the life she had once cherished. The aftermath of their actions had forever changed the lives of these friends, leaving behind a trail of heartache, regret, and broken trust. The consequences of their choices would continue to shape their futures, as they grappled with the pain of their past mistakes, and searched for a way to move forward. Because Bob still loved her, he offered Laura their guest room to live in until she could get a place of her own and plan out her future. The home was large enough for them to live there without much engagement. Bob worked harder and longer hours in an effort to keep sane, and came home late enough not to see her. To her credit, Laura continued to try to win Bob back, but he had no intention of ever being with her again. He started dating Becky, his secretary, who was more than thrilled to make Bob happy. She knew Bob was a good catch, and even though he was 10 years her senior, she was happy with him in bed, and enjoyed the massive orgasms he gave her. Bob was a good man, and Becky couldn't believe Laura's stupidity and her luck. She would never give Bob a reason to worry or doubt her love. The emotional turmoil of the past 2 months weighed heavily on Laura's shoulders. Seeing Becky move in with Bob, occupying the space that was once theirs, was like a constant reminder of the life she had lost. It tore at her heart to witness the happiness and affection being shared between her ex-husband and the woman who was now taking her place. Every glance, every touch, and every shared moment between Bob and Becky felt like a stab to Laura's heart. Jealousy gnawed at her, and she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of regret for her actions that led to this situation. Her once happy home, now filled with love between Bob and another woman, was a constant source of pain and sorrow. The bed they used to share, the one where they had once slept side by side, now became the site of intimacy between Bob and Becky. The thought of them together in that very spot crushed Laura's soul. It was a harsh reminder that she had given up her husband through her selfishness, and she now had to face the consequences of her actions. Feeling alone and scared, Laura struggled to find a way out of this emotional abyss. With no job and few prospects, the future seemed uncertain and daunting. She was haunted by the fear of being alone, without the man she once loved so deeply, and the uncertainty of what lay ahead only added to her distress. Having no other options, Laura had to accept her living arrangements reluctantly, knowing that she had lost the man she once held dear. As she faced the reality of her situation, Laura knew that she had to come to terms with her past mistakes and work on rebuilding her life. It was a painful journey, but she knew that she needed to find her own strength and inner resilience to move forward. Despite the challenges ahead, Laura hoped that one day she could find peace and happiness again, even if it meant letting go of the man she once thought would be with her forever. At Bob's office, when the other workers found out that Stan had caused Bob's divorce, they treated him like someone with leprosy. Nobody talked to him socially and treated him like the asshole he was. He realized he couldn't stay there as they made his life miserable, screwing up jobs, causing complaints and loss of money. Stan decided to open his own business and took several accounts with him. Bob's attorney explained that Stan was under a non-compete contract and was breaking their contract. Stan, not being educated, didn't even realize any of this and continued to grow his business. Bob's attorney told him to be patient and wait a few months until they could present a proper case. 10 months later, Stan had amassed over 100 accounts, and his business was flourishing at an impressive pace. He felt on top of the world, basking in the success he had worked so hard to achieve. However, that euphoria was short-lived when the attorney filed a devastating lawsuit against Stan, demanding a staggering $1 million. The claim accused him of not only causing significant financial loss, but also breaching the ironclad non-compete contract. As the legal battle raged on, Bob, still nursing the wounds left by Stan's actions, was fueled by a burning desire for revenge. Money was the least of his concerns. He yearned to make Stan pay for the pain of stealing his beloved wife, shattering his once happy marriage, and callously poaching his loyal customers. When the dust finally settled, the outcome was catastrophic for Stan. Bob emerged victorious, seizing ownership of Stan's once thriving business, and leaving him with no choice but to file for personal bankruptcy. The dream career he had built, with the possibility of owning a piece of Bob's company, a multi-million-dollar enterprise, crumbled before his eyes, leaving him destitute and emotionally shattered. With no formal education to rely on, Stan had no alternative but to turn to grueling day labor, just to scrape by and make ends meet. The harsh consequences of his actions had taken a toll on him, and he learned a painful lesson that would haunt him forever: never again to meddle with another man's wife or betray trust so callously. Scott and Roger's wives realized how close they had come to jeopardizing their marriages as Laura did. It was a wake-up call for them, and they understood the value of their husband's forgiveness, and the need to respect and cherish their relationships. They decided to work on rebuilding their trust and communication to avoid such mistakes in the future. Over time, they managed to strengthen their marriages and move forward together with a newfound appreciation for their partner's love and forgiveness. They no longer socialize with Laura or Bob, and miss the good times they once shared. Laura's life took a somber turn as she navigated the aftermath of her failed marriage. With a heavy heart, she accepted that Bob would never take her back. Finding a job as a receptionist at a dental office offered her some stability, but it couldn't fill the void left by the loss of her once happy marriage. Living in a small apartment, she felt the weight of loneliness and regret every day. Trying to move on, she met an older man from the office and began dating, but the new relationship could never compare to the love she had lost with Bob. The happiness she once knew was now only a distant memory, and she couldn't help but feel the pain of her past mistakes haunting her every step. In her quiet moments, she would reflect on what could have been, wishing she had made different choices, and held on to the life she had with Bob. However, she had to come to terms with the reality that she had let go of something special and irreplaceable. The future that once looked so bright was now a shadow of its former self, leaving her with a profound sense of sadness and longing for what was lost. Bob did miss Laura, but Becky quickly filled that void and made it her mission to be the perfect other half. Bob loved the young woman's energy and lust, and a year later they were married. Michael and Katie would have a baby half-brother a year later. Thanks for your patience, guys. Hope you really enjoyed this story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Cheers.